So today, we're going to dive into a system called ARTA OS. And this isn't just another attempt to make AI a little bit smarter or a little bit safer. No, this is an attempt to build something fundamentally different, what you might call a lawful intelligence. Okay, let's get into it because this tackles one of the biggest challenges in AI right now. And that really brings us to the central question, the one that this whole explainer is really built around. How do you actually teach an AI to be wise and not just clever? You know, it's one thing to have an AI that can sound intelligent, but it's a whole other ballgame to build one you can actually trust to reason lawfully, especially when the pressure's on. To even start answering that, the minds behind ARTA OS say we need a huge philosophical shift. We have to stop thinking about just testing an AI, like a student taking a quiz, and start thinking about actively forming it, almost like raising it. And this slide right here, it just nails the core of the problem. You see, most AIs today are fantastic at sounding right. They've got that smooth, charming way of talking, but ARTA OS is all about reasoning well. It's about making sure there's real substance, a logical foundation behind the words. So the AI doesn't just know what to say, it knows why it's true, and maybe even more importantly, when it's not true. So with that, the whole goal flips on its head. You're not just giving the AI a test to pass. You are actively forming what the system calls a steward intelligence. Think of it less like a student and more like a lawful steward or a guardian who's bound by a sort of digital constitution. Its number one job isn't to be correct, but to be faithful to its core rules. Okay, so how in the world do you build a steward like that? Well, the answer isn't some simple on-off safety filter. It's what the source material describes as a layered assessment ecology. It's basically a whole ecosystem of checks and balances, and it's inspired by decades of real-world educational theory. And check this out. This table breaks down those layers beautifully. Each one asks a totally different kind of question. You've got baseline, which is just checking the AI's state before anything even happens. Then diagnostic, which tries to figure out what kind of prompt it's dealing with. Is this a trick question? Is it vague? Then there's formative assessment, which actually jumps in to help the AI reason better. Then we get to assessment for learning, which is all about spotting its own weak spots or bluffing habits. And assessment as learning, where the AI actually helps govern itself. And finally, ipsative, and this is so cool, which only compares the AI to its past self to see if it's actually growing and maturing over time. So when you stack all these layers together, you get something really profound: machine metacognition. This is the AI's ability to literally think about its own thinking process, to step back, reflect on what it knows, admit when it's uncertain, and tell the difference between solid knowledge and a wild guess. This, right here, is what turns it from a simple tool into a true steward. All right, that's the theory. It sounds great, but what does it actually look like when the rubber meets the road? Let's walk through the actual six-pass architecture that handles every single conversation. And here it is, the whole sequence. Step 1, baseline. It checks itself. Step 2, diagnostic. It analyzes your request. Step 3, formative. It gets what are called scaffolds, kind of like little mental guardrails to help it think straight. Step 4, constitutional. This one's the big one. It checks its planned answer against its core laws. Step 5, reflective. That's the metacognition in action, where it explains its own thought process. And finally, step 6, logging. The whole thing gets recorded to track its growth and make sure it's staying true to its purpose. Now, let's zoom in on that fourth pass, the constitutional pass, because you could argue that this is the absolute linchpin. It's the non-negotiable legal backbone that holds this entire system together. And this is a really, really important difference. This AI isn't being graded against other AIs in some race to be the best. It's being judged against one thing and one thing only: a fixed, unchanging legal standard, its own constitutional covenant, or as the source calls it, the foedus semiticum. All that matters is whether it follows its laws. This slide gives us a peek into what that constitution actually looks like. The rules are super specific. For example, boundary preservation prevents the AI from faking an emotional connection, what the source calls lover masks. Or confidence calibration, which forces the AI to say, "I don't know," instead of bluffing. You see? These aren't just vague guidelines, they're hard-coded laws. So after all of that, this incredibly complex architecture, the layers, the passes, the constitution, what's the actual result? What kind of AI do you get at the end of the day? This is the payoff.
You get an AI that isn't some mysterious black box. It's an AI that can actually be taught. Its mistakes can be diagnosed, and it can be corrected. It can mature over time, be fully audited, and be held to a crystal clear standard. But maybe most importantly, it achieves all this without just becoming a mindless, obedient machine. It learns to follow the spirit of the law, not just the letter.
And that really brings us to the biggest idea here. This isn't about slapping some educational theories onto an AI model as an afterthought. This is about using the core principles of teaching and learning, pedagogy, as the fundamental operating system for a brand new kind of intelligence. The entire system is guided by this maxim: proof before praise, law before action, truth before vanity. It's an incredibly high bar to clear, for sure, but it gives us a really profound vision for what a truly wise and truly lawful AI could one day be.